Restart. Okay.
Can y'all hear us now?
Shout out to Alana for noticing.
Yeah. How's it now?
Can they hear us now?
They said no.
There's no sound. Okay.
Girl. Hello.
Hopefully it works.
Okay, yeah, they can.
I think so, because if someone's on there, it'll echo.
Okay, they said they can't hear it now.
Wait, is that in the...
Okay, I think we got it. All right, so we're going to start over. Is it echoing?
Yeah, whoever's on the live with us, they have to...
Yeah, I had to close it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm closing.
No, they hear it now. I think it says they hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So if you're playing the live in the background, just make sure the volume's low so you're not getting feedback. All right, so thank y'all for joining us. I know it's been a lot of tech issues, but we're finally up and running. So first, I'm going to let my panelists introduce themselves. This is Black and Undergraduate Medical Education. You're going to hear from so many Black women across the nation and across the globe. And starting with Miss Erycka.
There's
Webb.
a lot of feedback. Yes, it's echoing. We have to close the live. But it was echoing.
Who's she talking to?
Okay.
My God. If y'all can hear us out here, this is us every day.
Every single day.
Not anything that's,
Different.
No. So bear with us. Our other sisters are in the live chat, so.
I believe we can be heard. So Y'all can go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll get started.
I'm going to start. Hi, guys. This is Erycka Webb. I'm from Saba University School of Medicine, so that is in the Caribbean. Originally from Los Angeles, California, and currently I am in my last year. Well, I just actually finished, and I am just waiting for match day. So welcome, and I'm going to give it to Sally.
Hi guys, my name is Sally. I am a third-year osteopathic medical student at Touro College of Osteopathic Medicine in Harlem. Right now I'm doing my rotations in Staten Island. I only have 3 rotations left, and I'm going to be taking Comlex Part 2 in June. Popcorn, Alana.
Okay. Hi, my name is Alana Parker. I'm the other New York med student here, third-year student at CUNY School of Medicine. I'm happy that you guys are all here to listen to us and hear about our experiences. And I'm going to popcorn it to Kika.
Hey, y'all. I'm the one non-American here, and I love it. So, my name is Kika. I'm Canadian, which please don't make fun of my accent. It's just, it is what it is. And I go to McMaster University, and I'm in my second year, and we are a 3-year program. So I'm on my way to being a senior medical student.
I think that oh no.
You gotta popcorn it, Kika.
Yeah.
Do I have to nominate someone? Okay, well, I'll nominate Kyshari since she was talking.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm Kyshari, originally from Chicago. Right now, I'm at Ohio University Heritage College of Osteopathic Medicine. So like Sally, I'm a DO student as well. I am a 4th year expecting to match into PEDS next month. And I'm really excited to be here. So we'll go to Courtney.
Okay, hi everyone. My name's Courtney Chineme. I'm currently a third year at RowanSOM in Stratford, New Jersey. I'm originally from Texas, though. I'm a third year, and I have 2 rotations left. I'm expected to take Comlex Level 2 this summer, and I'm hoping this year, to match into psychiatry. So.
Is that everyone?
That is everyone.
All right, so since that was
Yes.
everyone, we can go ahead and get started. All right. So first and foremost, it's February still, so happy Black History Month. And honestly, where would this country or any country be without Black women? That is the question that, we strive to answer in our daily lives. Today we are remembering Dr. Natalia Tanner Kane. She was one of the first Black women, or she just made the way for so many Black women pediatricians. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up my notes.
She went to Meharry.
Yes.
The HBCU. I actually did it was like a mini research thing on her for a post last year. She was the first to be recognized as a Black pediatrician, which is and I think she also went to the University of Chicago.
Yes. So just giving a little bit about her and her background. So her intent was to form join the first Michigan chapter, but she was ignored. And this is for the AAP. So that's the American Academy of Association of Pediatrics. She was ignored. So as Black women do, she really just stood up, made space for herself and said, hey, I am a Black woman, I'm a doctor, I deserve to be here, and I demand that I be admitted to to be a member. And it wasn't until 32 years later that she was finally elected as the chapter's first female and first Black president. So, I feel like every day in our everyday lives, we have all of these Black women just pioneering the way for us. And a big reason of why I chose Peds was women like her. My version of this woman is Dr. Stephanie Battle at the Huntsville UAB Pediatrics campus. And so, working with her, I really got to see the impact that pediatricians can have on the community. And it made a big stamp on my life and me wanting to be a community pediatrician. And so this is to Dr. Battle, Dr. Tanner Kane. Thank you so much for leading the way, and we hope we can make you proud. If y'all have any Black women in your lives that you want to share as well, you are welcome to do so right now.
Well, I will. She's not a physician. She's a doctor. She holds a PhD. But my mother is actually the reason why I ended up being where I am today. And that just took, I think, a lot for her to get me here. It was hard because where she came from and her background and, where our family comes from, we work hard, but, education wasn't really pushed for us, higher education anyway, graduate from high school, don't get pregnant, hold down a good job. And my mom had the vision to want more, and her wanting more for her child actually got the first medical doctor in the family, and she went back to school when I was younger. And it's funny because, while she was going, to college, I had to be about, I think, 8 or 9. And I had to stay up with her reading the books that she was reading at that age and learning, back then how to type, learning, bigger words. And I used to go, Mommy, what does this word mean? And she would always tell me, go get the dictionary and look it up. And after you look it up, you're going to write it in a sentence. And after you write it in a sentence, you're going to write an essay. So, it took, my mom really, hounding me and telling me how much education was so important. It was required for me to go to college. It was not an option. Now the whole medical doctor and getting my MPH, that was an option. I kind of took it thereafter. But my mom really laid down that foundation. And, so I'm forever grateful for her and forever honored to be her child. So, Mommy, if you're listening, I love you and thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
How do you even follow that up?
I'm gonna follow in Aries' footsteps. Honestly, I don't have too many like Black female physician role models, just because my institution, there is just not much representation there, and prior to medical school, I wasn't really even thinking medical, so I just wasn't tapped in like that. But the one person I can think of is my mom. She's Nigerian, born in Nigeria and everything, and she moved to London when she was like 20, started working at McDonald's, and she had originally gone to college for accounting, but decided that she wanted to do something that was a bit more stable. So she decided that she wanted to become a nurse, and she told all her family members, "Yeah, I'm going to become a nurse." And they were like, "Yeah, okay, Veronica, like that's not happening." And she was like, "Okay, whatever, I'm still going to do it." So she applied to King's College in London, which is a really, really prestigious college. And it was between King's College and another college in London. And she's applying, and all of our family members were like, "Veronica, don't apply to King's College. There are no Black people there. Like, why would you do that? They're not going to accept you." And she was like, "I want to go there because that's the best. If I want to be a really great nurse in London, that's where I'm going to go because they produce the best nurses." So she applied anyway, and she had her interview, and her interview went great. Like, she was like, "You guys have no other option than to accept me." And she knew that she would have been the only Black person at that in their class, but she was like, I want this that bad. And so she got in, and she had 4 kids while she was in nursing school, and her last year of nursing school, she had my younger sister, and she was determined to graduate on time. She was taking exams in the hospital. Like, it was wild. And, my mom, we butt heads a lot because she's a little Taurus and I'm a Cancer. But, I really do look up to her. She's really, really strong. Like, I really do look up to her. Like, she really sets the foundation. Like, I'm here by choice, but like, I have to go after everything that I want because I watched her do that. Like, here I am. We have these struggles where we're probably like one of like 6 Black people in our medical class, but she was one Black person out of everyone in her nursing school back when she went. So like, we just got to keep going.
I love that.
That was so nice, and I felt that because my mom's also Nigerian, and we also sometimes butt heads because I'm an Aries and she's a Capricorn, so I really felt that story. And just to add, I'll be short, but my mom means a lot to me too, because growing up, like I would get really down on myself a lot about school, and I'm still kind of like that. I always like follow the path of thinking I can't do something instinctively until I like get into the head, like the mental zone to be like, I have to get this thing. But it takes me a while to get there. And growing up, I always used to like believe that my mom would do everything to shorten that path between me believing I can't do something and deciding I'm going to do it. And whenever my mom saw me struggling with something, she was like, "I don't know what you're worried about. Like, you're going to do it." Like, she's like, either you want to do it or you don't. And if you want to do it, you're going to do it. Like, that was always her way of thinking. And I think that's made me who I am today. And I'm really close to her, and we talk every day. And every day she always says something funny. So that always, like, I would say approximately 90% of my sense of humor is directly related to my mom, because she's one of the funniest people I've ever met. and she just makes life so awesome. And for her too, she worked really hard. She came to Canada, gave me like everything I have, she and my dad. And she's supremely hardworking. She's a banker, so she thinks medicine is insane. She was like, I don't know where you came from, because my dad's an English professor and my mom's a banker. And they're like, and then we have this little weirdo that decided she wanted to do this. We don't know who she is or what she's doing, but that's her thing. We're going to support her. So I think it's really awesome, because neither of my parents are like healthcare slanted at all. But that makes me really happy, because they give good advice. Because sometimes I think it's really good to step out of the medicine bubble and talk to people who don't understand medicine, and they give you amazing insight. So sometimes I'll be freaking out about something, and my mom's like, hey girl, but you ain't died yet. Like, you're still breathing, so I don't understand what this is all about. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm still breathing. Like, why am I stressed? She's like, when you're on death's door, that's when you should get really stressed. So
yeah, shout out to all the Black moms. They are literally out to rocks. And they are a testament to the women that we are today. So shout out to them. So just going on to the next point, our panelists, we already did little introductions, but I put all their faces here because they deserve to be shown off. They're so beautiful and they have come such a long way. We are destined for great things. I am convinced. So one of the first things we're going to do here is reflect on major transitions. And I kind of split it up between us, you know, from the preclinical to clinical years for the MS3s, or the ones that were, you know, most recently experienced this change. And then once y'all are done, then we MS4s will go over, you know, switching from clinical to interview and match season and what's that's been like. So yeah, anyone can talk.
I guess I'll start. Yeah. Oh, never mind.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm a third year. I only have 3 rotations left, but the transition for me from preclinical to clinical was rough. At the time, I studied for step 1 during a whole pandemic and a civil unrest. So it was difficult trying to, you know, navigate my emotions and everything while studying for this exam that determines where I'm going to be. And then after that, you know, my school tried their best to be like, hey, is everything okay? But at the end of the day, they were like, well, you have to start school now. You have to start rotations now. You guys have PPE, just get into there. So shifting from studying and taking 3 and 4 exams a week to being in this real world where everyone is kind of already in their own motions, already in their own set navigations, and I'm just kind of there, standing there, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to say, was a little difficult for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, and like piggybacking off of that, like, I guess my transition was a little different because I took a year off in between preclinicals and clinical. But that first day when you have to figure out, like, you transition from being a student to trying to figure out how to impress people that you've never met, and the right way to go about, like, the things that you would think aren't important become so important, like, especially as a Black woman. Like, now it's okay, I have to think about how I'm gonna do my hair, because now, like, for me, I had surgery first. And when I say I spent weeks like, okay, what am I gonna do with my hair? If I put it in braids, then I can just easily put it up when I have to go in the OR. But, like, is it gonna fit in that cap? Like, what if a braid falls down and they're like, oh, you're in the sterile field with your braid? And then I'm like, I can't put a puff, because then how am I gonna put the cap on? So that mix, and then even like dressing, like, what's considered professional clothes on us and our bodies are way different than what's considered professional clothes on the rest of the people that we're in school with. So it became more than just, okay, I'm a student, I'm here to learn, whatever. But now it's, okay, I'm a student, I'm here to learn, but I basically have a whole job and have to go home and study. But now I also have to impress these people and micromanage myself and fit into this little bubble so that I'm compared at the same level as the non-Black people that I'm working with, and like tone police myself and all those things. So it's like, it wasn't even the fact of like, okay, I'm starting clinicals. It's the, okay, I have to worry about this, this, and this that other people don't have to worry about, that I feel like isn't a thing that's talked about in med school, because we already know it's not that many Black people or Black women in general in these situations.
I agree. I feel all of that super strongly, but I just want to clarify something from Sally. Yeah. 3 to 4 exams a week?
Yeah, so first year in Touro is insane. So we all have, stacked exams where it's just, first year I took anatomy, histology, yada, 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 and they would all just have it like Monday. And during finals, it would be Monday anatomy, Wednesday histology, Friday physiology. So I had to shift from survival mode where I didn't have to worry about, social cues and sensitivities like Alana was talking about. I just had to be a monster and study. So going from that to, the real world where now I have to kind of be a human again, because I feel like at that point I wasn't human. I was just like, I need to study, I need to get through this, and add the social cues. Okay, I'm a Black woman here. I'm the only Black woman here. I have to watch what I say. I have to listen to people say ignorant stuff every single day and keep my mouth shut and try to navigate through those feelings and not get upset because I'm a very sensitive person. So yeah, the 3 to 4 exams a week was nightmarish. That's why I said the transition from preclinical to clinical was like a sharp divide. It was
it sounds like
it. World. Yeah,
That's
it was 2
crazy.
different worlds. I feel like I went through med school twice, just 2 different sections.
Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm proud of you because I did approximately none of that. Hearing that itself gave me tachycardia. I don't know how you did that, but I'm so proud of you because my school, you know what, this is public, let me not drag them too much, but my school is like, hey girl, we want you to know this by the time you start clerkship, but we're not going to teach you that. Here are some links. Teach yourself. Once in a while, we'll test you. And by once in a while, they mean like every 6 months. They just do like a huge test. And then they're like, okay, like you know some stuff. So for me, clerkship so far, I think I'm probably the most recent into starting clerkship because I started in January. And my program is just super fast. Like, we spend like 4 weeks in something, then you move, then 2 weeks, then you move, then 2 weeks, then you move, then 4 weeks, then you move. Like, we don't have long cores or long rotations. So it's just like I'm constantly having vertigo. Like, I would have just met a team, just gotten used to them, and then I have to move somewhere else. And I think one of the hardest parts of clinical time versus preclinical is exactly what Sally and Alana pointed to. It's that social aspect of it. It's that, like, I have to be careful what I say. I have to think about how I'm going to relate to people. And it's not even just your preceptor. It's how you relate to nurses. It's how you relate to PAs. It's how you relate to pharmacists. Like, there's so many people involved in the care team. And maybe your preceptor is a nice, normal person, but then you're going to have a nurse that just hates you because you're Black. And I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do about this. But I feel really lucky that so far I've had generally good experiences, but we'll see how the rest goes. But I think for me, that was the most difficult part, is going from because compared to Sally, my school had an extremely relaxed schedule which has very severe downsides, because unless you're an extremely self-motivated person, which I'm not saying I'm not, you have to teach yourself everything. And then you're in a situation where preceptors have such variable expectations of people in my class So they'll be asking me something that an R1 should know or like a PGY1 should know. I'm like, I can't answer that. And they're asking me something that an average med student in other schools should know. And I'm like, I also don't know that. So it's a very interesting place to be.
Yeah, I did notice that on my clinical rotations. The last rotation, which I will not name which rotation, where they would ask me resident-style questions and put me on the spot constantly. Whereas my other classmate, who was not Black, did not get that. In fact, sometimes she wouldn't even present and they wouldn't say anything. So it was just like, at first I was like, maybe, they're just being tough on me. And then I realized, why are they picking on me? What's going on? So I have to do the mental gymnastics and be like, well, is it race? Is it gender? Is it this? Is it, all that stuff. So navigating through that was also not easy.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of everything everyone said. I think transitioning from preclinicals to clinicals, my biggest concern was how are people going to perceive me? Because I'm at my school, in my class, my graduating class, I'm one of, I want to say 8 Black students in a class of 200. So I was just very concerned because they break us up into different hub sites, right? And the hub site that I chose, just because of location, proximity to my partner and everything, I knew it was like predominantly white students that were going to be at this hub site. So my biggest fear was like, how am I going to be perceived at this hub site? Just like Alana and everyone else said, like, I'm concerned about my hair. I stay in a protective style, but like my locks right now are down to my butt. Like, is anyone going to feel a way about that? And I was also very concerned because I was like, I know that these are my clinical years. I'm auditioning right now. Like, I'm essentially tap dancing right now to see, like, to get, like, garner people's attention, get people to want to write me letters of recommendation and things of that nature, want people to speak well on behalf of my clinical skills. But I also knew who I was in the room with. And I'm a very introverted person. I'm very quiet, and I know that could be misinterpreted amongst people who are not Black. They can probably perceive that as something else, like I'm intimidating or whatever. But I was just like concerned because I'm having to audition essentially in the same room as these like white men who are old, extremely. They have no problem with answering all these like pimp questions, like on the spot. They're not even thinking about how they're being perceived. They're just rattling off. And I'm like, I can't compete with that because that's not who I am. You're going to get to know me like in a natural, organic way, but I'm not about to just like, start dancing for you. So I was really concerned about that because I was like, if I have to shout over this like other student, I've already stepped out of who I am. I can't do that. So I was really concerned about that. And, I was just kind of like, how could someone like me, how can like an introverted Black woman make a name for herself amongst these people who come into this space with their own biases? And some people will choose not to see me. And that's going to hurt me because I'm essentially relying on their acknowledgement, their approval to get ahead. But like, what happens when they can't see me? So I was really concerned about that. And I even had an experience whereby my white male co-medical student was in the room with me, and there were some other 4th year students that were there with us. And they had this idea to do a case study. And everyone in this panel knows that research is important for certain specialties. As much research as you can get, it's important, but it's also very difficult to come across. And I'm like, I need something to like kind of like boost my CV. These 4th years approached this white male co-med student in front of me, asking if he wanted to be on a paper with them and submit to a journal right in front of me. Mind you, we've all been working together on this internal medicine rotation. And I feel like I've done a good enough job of like, showing my skills and blah, blah, blah. And they asked him right in front of me, hey, you want to get on this paper? We're going to submit to this journal. And I remember just realizing that's how that works. This is how people move up, and this is how people stay stagnant. So what am I going to do now? You know? And so I remember one of the professors at my school was like, you cannot wait around just waiting for someone to pluck you from obscurity. Like, a Black woman can't wait around to be plucked and placed in the correct rooms. Like, we have to barge through doors. Mm-hmm. So in that moment, I realized, okay, if y'all can't see me, then I'm just gonna have to find a way. I'm gonna have to find a way to be seen, and that's all there is to it. So that was, for me, that was the biggest thing. Like, I couldn't even focus on getting my clinical skills down, making sure I can hear the heart murmurs and blah blah blah. I was too focused on how people were going to perceive me as a Black woman in medicine, which I think is very unfortunate, because my white students don't have to think about that as much. They get to work on their skills when I'm trying to make sure that I'm as palatable as possible for the people that I'm working around, so they don't write in my eval. Could be a bit more sociable, or could dress up a little differently, or could speak up a bit, so.
One of my preceptors wrote, and this was my very first rotation as a third year. It was at the Cancer Center here, which is not a third-year rotation. And he wrote something very similar to what you just mentioned, Courtney. It was like, Kyshari needs to know how to interject into conversations with other colleagues. And it's like, what does that even mean? Like, and why is that something that you chose to write on an evaluation instead of saying that to me? Like something that we can talk about on a personal level. It was just baffling.
I think it's interesting you said that, because from someone who is a very opposite personality type, where I'm like classically very like gregarious and like intense, and you can't win as a Black woman. Like, I find that really interesting, Kyshari, because I've been told that I'm overconfident by preceptors sometimes. So it's like there's no middle ground for us. I don't think there will ever be a preceptor that will say Kika needs to speak up more, because I'll be like, check your ears. But I have had like preceptors in clinical rotations or in like classes be like, for example, during my preclinical, I had someone, like a preceptor, pull me aside after a tutorial and go, "You're really confident in these things you say, and I find that interesting." And I was like, why wouldn't I be confident? Like, do you want me to be like, I think the heart has 4 chambers. Like, there's some things that isn't confidence, it's just facts. Like, if I tell you the right atrium connects to the right ventricle, you're telling me I'm overconfident because you expect me not to believe in the things I say. Like, you expect that out of Black women. So I find that, like, it's really irritating to me, because they have such a linear expectation of what Black women are supposed to be, and we're never that representation, regardless of our personality type. So even though we have such diverse personality types, like, Courtney is clearly more introverted than I would be considered on a clinical rotation. I'm always considered too extroverted, and she's always going to be considered too introverted. So it's like, it's very frustrating, because other people can just breathe and they're doing a good job. And I'm constantly like, am I over talking my other med student? Am I making too many jokes? Am I blah, 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 blah? Like, I'm constantly calculating. That's the best way to explain it. I said it to my mom. I'm constantly recalibrating and calculating my place compared to other med students, and they're just vibing. Like, I'm sure they also have fears about matching up to a preceptor, but I'm thinking about matching up to a preceptor. I'm thinking about how the OR nurses see me. I'm thinking about how the residents see me. I'm thinking about, like, how I look like to my patients. They're not worried about that. They're just worried about getting that letter of recommendation. Meanwhile, we have to recalculate so many things.
Imagine all of the anxiety and stress that is tacked on to us as Black people. In addition to trying to figure out and navigate how to be a physician, how to be a medical student.
Exactly.
I'm going to, sorry, Kyshari, were you saying?
You're good.
Oh, okay. All of what my sister said, I can bet money that all of us have experienced that, whether that's we're introverts or we're extroverts. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't leave. It doesn't leave from preclinical to clinical to interview to match season. You're constantly thinking about this. And I just went through interview season, and one of the things we talked about, I believe Alana mentioned, was hair. Now, I have been considered natural, where I have not flat ironed my hair, permed my hair for almost like 10 years now. And I've taken pride in nurturing my natural hair. And so when it came down to my ERAS picture, I remember tweeting like, I don't know if I should either get a straight wig, flat iron my hair, or wear my hair natural. Because if I wear my hair natural, my hair is pretty big, are they going to look at it as like I'm not clean, I'm not neat? I just had an experience where I was telling, my girls here, like, I remember I blow dried my hair and then put it up in a bun because I had just trimmed it. So it was really like, when you flat iron curly hair, it gets smaller. And the person I was working with walks in and goes, "Your hair looks really neat today." And it took a lot for me to just kind of say thank you as if it was a compliment, knowing that it was more of a microaggression kind of comment. And it was really hard for me to go ahead and make the decision to wear my hair natural in my ERAS picture, because it was, okay, I am gambling with my life right now. So there's a lot of people, a lot of students that don't really have to worry about, okay, if you don't match, it does suck, right? If you don't match, it does suck. But for a lot of us, and even Black women, we don't have the chance to say, okay, we'll apply next year. All our savings done went into this season, As an IMG, I applied to way more because, of course, I got the stigma of the Caribbean. I'm Black and I'm a woman. Come on. Like, the odds are stacked against me. So I had to really gamble with, okay, I can be my authentic self and pray to God, somebody, one of these PDs or these coordinators who are looking at my pictures sees me and doesn't see, oh, look at the hair and how is she going to look on the floor? Is she going to look too, that's big. Is it a distraction? I got a lot of those comments. Oh my God, your hair. But you don't think it's a distraction? To whom, sis? Because this is my hair. This is me. This is who I am. And why does it matter how my hair looks when I'm doing a damn good job on my rotation? I'm working my butt off, and you're worried about my hair. You're worried about how my scrubs fit. You're worried about my shirt. What is it? Like, why aren't you paying attention to teaching me? Because everybody knows med students, we pay to be there. They don't pay us to be there. We pay to be there. So transitioning from preclinical to clinical to now interview season, every interview I got, and thank you God for the interviews that I got, I wore my hair exactly like this. Because either you were going to look at me and say, this is a great person all around, or you were going to look at me and say I was a distraction. So either way it went, I presented myself in my authenticity, and it whoever gets me, hey, thank you. Whoever doesn't, thank you. And you deal with other things being a Black woman that you're worried about. One of the things that my dad actually points out, when I'm reading something, I kind of frown, and it's not like I'm angry at what I'm reading at. It's just, I'm kind of just focused, and I frown. And that the comment was made during one of my surgery rotations. You look like you don't want to be here. Mind you, I was reading. I was studying. And, for me, and I've told my girls this, coming into medical school, I wanted to be a surgeon. It was nobody on this earth that could tell me that I was not going to be a cardiovascular surgeon, period. And that rotation broke me. The things that were said, the things that were not said, the things that were done, the things that were allowed to happen broke me to the point where I said, I will never in life do surgery. And that is hard to take a goal that a little girl had and strip it from her because all you look at is that she's Black. All you look at is that maybe she doesn't belong here. She doesn't want to be here. And, you know, I am going into internal medicine with hopes of being an interventional cardiologist. So they didn't strip me too hard because cardio is life for me. But just the fact that it changed the course of my career, because all I could see is if I step into this OR, either I'm going to be ignored, either I'm going to be told I don't look like I want to be here. And I don't want to do 7 years of grueling training. That's already hard. Residency is already hard. Do that and be a Black woman. I had to choose. I had to figure out what kind of peace I wanted to keep for myself. And, you know, unfortunately, some people are stronger and can deal with it. And some people, you know, can take it on the chin. But for me, I needed to figure out for Erycka, who do I really want to be? Do I want to be the stressed out CT surgeon who's always worried about her looking Black and not belonging? Or what can I do to make myself happy and fulfill a goal of mine? And, you know, that's just what it is. You're always, as a Black woman in medicine or anywhere in life, you are always going to remember one thing and one thing only, that you are a Black woman. You're not going to worry about, I'm going to be the first engineer here in this company. I'm going to be this. You're going to remember, no matter what you're wearing, no matter how docile you may look or timid you may try to be, you are a Black woman. And to a lot of people, that's violence already. That is violence already. And what can you do? You can be the introvert like Court. You can be bold and confident like Kika. Somebody ain't gonna like it because you're a Black woman.
And yeah, y'all all made. Look, I almost didn't start talking because I was like, is the sermon over? Like, is it time for us to start clapping? Because, wow. But yeah, everybody makes such great points. Like, med school is a lot of shucking and jiving and tap dancing. And I feel like as a Black woman, you constantly have to put on this mask or else your grades are going in the trash. I'm sure we all have, you know, terrible evaluations, and some of mine sound the exact same. Like, what is similar between all of these? I just cannot put my finger on it. But yeah, so much shucking and jiving, even switching from clinicals to interview and match season. We're doing basically the same thing. A lot of us think we have to do that. Personally, for me, I had given that up. In med school, I was like, I'm Farrah-Amoy. Like, I'm a great person, and for people to experience me is a privilege. And so the way I carry myself and the way I move into a room, that just cannot and will never be suppressed. And I'm going to do it the same way every day. And whether you like it or not, that's your problem, babes, not mine. So that's something they personally have to work on. And thank God that, you know, the people who do meet me see me as the light that I am and want to share that with other people. And so I think being a Black woman is all about Black liberation, being set free from the shackles that, you know, society tries to put on you. And that's really all this, you know, thing is about but yeah, y'all said it even better than I could ever have. So let's go to the next thing. Medical education. So there is a lot of things that we are taught in med school that just, you know, is wrong, completely wrong, to be honest. And, you know, this is not the 1970s. This is like 2020. You know, this stuff is still in PowerPoints across the world, you know, that Black people have higher risk for this, but giving no explanation as to why that is. And so, you know, they use things like Caucasian, Black, African American, Asian to denote biological differences when, you know, race isn't biologic, it's a social construct. And, you know, we could talk about how that was constructed over time and how it was perpetuated through the transatlantic slave trade, but that is a talk for another day. we focusing and centering Black women today. And so, there are just a lot of things we were taught in med school, and this is just a list I pulled up. Making links between racial groups and particular diseases. I'm sure everyone has seen the slide of Black people being at high risk for hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and, having no explanation as to why, those things are happening, not the redlining, the socio-political aspects of what being Black means in America, and why that puts us at higher risk for things like diabetes and obesity. And teaching
Canada.
Did someone say hey?
I said in Canada.
Oh, in Canada. Yes, in Canada too. Teaching of guidelines that endorse the use of racial categories in diagnosis and treatment. This is the biggest one that I feel like showed its head more in the clinical years. I've had attendings say, yeah, I don't prescribe this medication to Black people because, that there was this one study. The one study that did, if you look at the study, the methods don't make no sense. They're grouping Black people just based on, them being Black, not, these people are Nigerian, these people are, Jamaicans. They're all from different parts of the world, and you're just, grouping them into Black and judging their response to medications, and you're going off of that, and not the person sitting right in front of you, which is what it needs to be, centered on. And so there's just so much wrong with medical education, but, and it's not our problem to fix. I think that, one thing about me is I'm passionate, and if there's something, I'm going to want to fix it, especially if it's within my reach. But the onus should not be put on Black people alone to make the changes necessary. And so if anyone has anything they want to say on this slide, y'all are welcome to do that.
At least in clinicals, I just want to add how Black patients are always considered non-compliant, and I'm like, okay, so I purposely do this thing where if they say in rounds oh, this patient is always non-compliant, I pick up that patient because now I want to know why they're not compliant. I had a patient recently, and they're like, yeah, she always comes in, she's not compliant with her medication, she does drugs, blah blah blah. I go talk to the lady. She clearly has an extensive psych history, PTSD, abuse, current abuse, previous abuse. She's trying to get off of the drugs that she's doing, and she doesn't have a job, and she can't. They have her on 17 medications, and she can't afford them. And she's like, the only time I come back is when I run out of the supply that I had. And then they're like, no, she's just not compliant. I'm like, no, she just can't afford the $7,000 worth of medication that you guys are prescribing her. Maybe you find medications that are cheaper, or find medications that can somehow lessen the amount of medications that she's taking, and she's going to be compliant. She's not being not compliant. She just doesn't have the resources with it. And I feel like that's one thing that always upsets me, because it's just so easy to yeah, that patient's just not compliant, and just not care about their care, when it's all you have to do is ask this person, hey, why are you not taking your medication? Why are you not coming to appointments? They're going to answer you, and then you can help them.
Yeah. Alana, you said it, sis. You said it. Non-compliant, drug-seeking, combative. You can't, those three, you cannot tell me my patient is. I'm not going to believe it, for one. I don't care even if they Black, brown, blue, orange, it doesn't matter. Because there's something there that you're not picking up on. And it's causing these things. It's a domino effect. But my favorite one I love to hear are those three. And it is usually Black people. Black men, Black women. But specifically that combative one, Black women.
Oh, the Black men.
Oh, it goes to Black men, but I've been hearing it a lot with Black women. And the reason why is because if you guys didn't know me and I'm sitting here talking to you and I'm in pain and I raise my voice just a little bit, to y'all understand, oh, sis is in pain. But to somebody else that's not us will say, oh, she's getting a little too aggressive here. She's getting a little too, like she's not listening. I mean, we saw what happened when somebody can label a Black woman aggressive. They'll ignore telltale signs about a disease progression, and maybe she might just have been a doctor who knew what was happening, and she's not here with us anymore because they thought she was too aggressive and she scared and threatened nursing staff. So we know who we're talking about here. We know what doctor that was that we lost to COVID, right? So we see all these labels: non-compliant, combative, aggressive, and there's a story there. I had a patient who was told, they told me, oh gosh, she is so non-compliant. She doesn't listen. And come to find out, sis was laid off. She had a mouse to feed, and she didn't have a car because she had to sell her car to pay rent. And she told me, she said, how Black women are, baby, I'm not trying to be, difficult. I'm not trying to, but I can't. I have my grandchildren. I have to worry about them, and I'm trying to eat right, but the store is like 10 miles from me. Trying to get on the bus that's all day. So how come I can go in there as a student and just sit for 5-10 minutes and listen and figure out what the problem was? But this woman, I'm looking at the record, the chart, but 2 or some years y'all have been calling her non-compliant. And she's been dealing with this whole entire time. So those kind of labels, I hate to hear them, and I do my best to keep my attitude under wraps when I hear it, because right then and there you kind of kicking your patient towards the coffin just a little faster, because you don't want to listen to them. You don't want to hear it. And so, unfortunately, Black people don't get the grace extended to them. They don't get the second chance. They don't get the, benefit of the doubt. They don't get it yet. And, it's killing us, amongst other things. Like Farrah-Amoy said, the research, that just does not make sense. We're not genetically different. We're not biologically different. We're human beings. We're all human beings. You telling me the color of my skin makes me different? It's not true.
I literally, I asked an attending that, because he was the same one that was like, yeah, I don't give this medication to Black patients because of whatever. And I was like, so why? What is the reason for that? And so it's like me, the residents, another attending, and this attending. And we're all just sitting there just, listening. And he was like, yeah, so apparently the lungs of Black people are much bigger. They have more mass.
Oh my God.
So their makeup of the distribution of whatever enzyme is different. And so the response to medication has to be changed to this medication instead. And I was like, I just didn't know what to say. Like, somebody else had to say something. But it
makes them sound so ignorant.
Right, like this is a doctor that's practicing and teaching medical students and has been doing so for a very long time, very well respected in their community. And is sitting here teaching medical students that Black people's lungs are built differently. And like being able to teach somebody that, that's so dangerous, because what do you think that person's going to go out and do? Because they think Black people are different, they can categorize them in any category they want. Usually it's subhuman. And they go off of that. In every patient encounter, they meet with another Black person. So it's just like, we have all these health disparities that we're noticing and doing the research on. And we're like, where is it coming from? We just don't understand. Like, y'all have been perpetuating this for generations now. It's time to like face the mirror, right? Like, you did this, boo. It's time to do something about it. And so that brings us to our next question. What would equitable medical education that centers the marginalized look like? And so we have like different recommendations for this. But one of the biggest themes that I found like most relevant is basically being able to understand how structural and institutional racism coupled with interpersonal discrimination negatively affects policing, criminal justice, healthcare, education, food security, housing, employment, every single part of what it means to live anywhere is how racism reaches. And that's what gets me the most about the comment, like, you're making it about race. Everything is about race because that's how it was built. This is how the society was structured. For you to be able to sit on your high horse and tell me I'm making everything about race, when you did that and are currently benefiting from it, you are out of your mind. You are just out of your mind. Like, the audacity for people to be able to do that, and Black women always have to, you know, bite their tongue and try to say the right things, or you're going to be labeled as aggressive. You could be blackballed in your industry. It's been done many times. Black women are being fired. Just the other day, Dr. Corey got fired. We have Dr. Denner now. Like, it's happening. And unless we put our foot down and say, this is what's going on, and these are things that we have to mitigate, it's not going to change. It's going to keep happening. And every time people are going to be shocked, like, it hasn't been happening for the last 50 to hundreds of years. Any other points?
I was just going to say that recently I've been thinking a lot about, and you mentioned the firings of these, like, Black physicians. I've been thinking a lot about how recently, like in the past 10 years, I would say, so many of us have kind of bought into representation politics. And I think representation is important, right? Like, I think seeing yourself is really key, especially, you know, when Erycka was talking about how she felt during that surgery rotation. I was the opposite in that I came to medical school long ago. When I was younger, I wanted to be a surgeon. But by the time I was recently coming into medical school, I wanted to be a pediatrician. I didn't want to do surgery. I remember my first few surgery experiences. I was like, I want to do surgery. And then I found the surgery I like. And I'm like, nothing's stopping me. You can shoot me in the foot and I'm still going to pursue this career. And it's important to me because I want people to see a Black female surgeon. But I think I've recently come to the realization that representation politics has very severe limits. Because if we aren't liberated, if the structure hasn't changed, then Black women kill themselves fighting for other people, and we're still going to get fired. Those two Black women did everything in their positions to make other people safe. They did far above and beyond what was expected of them, and they still got fired. So it's like, at the end of the day, if we don't change how the whole house looks, right? No matter how you try to pretty it up, no matter how many Black people you put in the house, it's still going to fall apart. Like, we have to rebuild the entire system. And people aren't ready for that. And I don't think they're, like, I watch people in situations, and I'm like, this isn't liberation, y'all. Like, all of us are really just making it through. And it reminds me of this tweet I saw recently that I love so much, I'm thinking of, like, literally printing it out and framing it. Let me see if I remember correctly. I think he said, I hope my ancestors forgive me for trying to make it to a table that they would have flipped over. Right? All of us are trying to get a seat at the table when our ancestors would have burnt that whole table down. Right? And that's what representation politics looks like, you know? We're all shucking and jiving, trying to make ourselves a face of something. But if it doesn't change, then what's the point? And all these Black women literally are trying their hardest. They're not shucking and jiving. These two Black women, that they were trying to change a system that still crushed them, right? So it's just so frustrating sometimes. And I feel a sense of hopelessness sometimes that I really get over really quickly, because I'm like, oh, you can't be hopeless because you wouldn't be here if your ancestors got hopeless, right? None of us would even be in medical school if our ancestors weren't like, I see a future for my descendants. It would have been, to me, sometimes I wake up when I'm in a medical situation, when I'm standing in an OR and I'm the only Black woman in that OR, I think my grandmother would be losing her mind right now. at the fact that I am rubbing shoulders with these people, or sometimes when I really get in my zhuzh, in my feelings, when I'm telling people what to do. When I'm like, actually, you got that wrong. This is the right way to do this procedure. I'm like, my grandma, my great-grandma, my own mother are so proud of me in this situation, and they probably could only imagine what all of us here are doing today. So we have to continue thinking of the things that we can't imagine today that our children are going to achieve. I still can't fathom Canada ever having a Black female prime minister, because we're not even close, y'all. We're not even in the same planet. Or I can't imagine having a Black female dean of medicine. Some of y'all down there have achieved it. Canada's not even in the same planet. We're not even in the same atmosphere. We're just vibing. But we have to maintain that thought in order for us to get there. So that's just my own personal quip with representation politics. It really has its own limits, but it also has the things it does well.
Nobody has anything else. We'll go on to the necessities of diversity. So I feel like a lot of institutions do not know what diversity means, especially when they put it together with equity and inclusion. They're just not getting the message. So they think it is really only about like increasing minority representation, which, I mean, the job they're doing is not that good. I wouldn't even put good in that together, but anyways. But on top of increasing the diversity, you also have to make sure that the people you recruit are supported in the same ways that your white students are. Because otherwise, you are going to get these students who do not have the same circumstances as everybody typically in med school, because, you know, we all know what the income distribution of people in med school looks like, okay? We're very familiar with that. And, you know, Black people come from historically marginalized backgrounds, disadvantaged backgrounds, because of the effects of slavery that are still existing today. There's a huge income gap. And so when you put them in an environment where success is basically based on the amount of money you have, I mean, what do y'all expect? Like, people are going to struggle. We're going to struggle otherwise. And so I saw things on Twitter like, you know, at every level of, you know, advanced education, Black people are lost in the pipeline. The pipeline is leaking. And a lot of that is because there's no support once the recruitment is done. They recruit you and then that's it. They leave you high and dry. Treat you differently, don't give you the same resources, and even in peer groups, you know, why don't you get help from your peers? Do the peers want to help me? Do they want to help me though? That's the question. And so when you are facing discrimination on the interpersonal level with your admin, with the faculty, you know, it's very alienating and isolating. And these are things that have to be addressed if there's going to be any sincere effort for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So financial support, academic support, and if you're going to do the protection, because racism is not going to just go away. It's bred into the U.S., right? You actually have to do something when a Black person tells you something is wrong. So a lot of my experience personally is if I report something, if there even is a way to report it, I type it in and it just gets lost. I either don't get a response or someone tries to talk to me and like, are you sure that's how that happened? Or are you sure that they perceived it that? I'm sure they didn't mean to do, like, why are you I'm telling you what happened. Like, why are you telling me what they meant? It doesn't matter what they meant. Racism is never about intention. People get that very confused sometimes. Racism is never about intention. And so on top of like impactful reporting, being able to respond adequately and, you know, offering consequences that, you know, actually impede the person, not just giving them an essay to write and calling it a day, like, you know, until that is reached, there is not going to be a sincere effort. Does anyone else want to add anything?
I I'm sorry. Everything this slide is talking about right now is like really resonating because currently there's an organization on my campus that's really trying to increase the like matriculation of Black students into our medical school, because currently our first year class, there's only one Black man in the class. So you can assume how alienating that is. And the numbers have gone down actually as far as like Black student matriculation goes. Like it was 10, 15, 9, 4, like it's all over the place. But I mean, diversity is not as superficial as people think that it is. Like you're talking about recruiting Black people or just other minority students. It's more than that. You recruit the Black people. Are there safe spaces on campus for those Black people? Right? Okay, then we think about these institutions, where they're located. Where are most of your Black students coming from? Are they out of state? All right, let's focus on the out of state situation. In-state tuition at my school is $36,000. Out-of-state tuition at my school is $70,000. These people are making almost double off of students who look like me, come from out of state, because all of the Black students at my school, most of them, 95% of them are out of state. You know, so much money is being made off of our backs, but we don't feel safe on campus. The resources don't exist. You know, and it bothers me so much because it's not enough to say we're a diverse institution and blah, blah, blah. Like my school has bragged about being looked at as the poster child for diversity. But here, all the Black students on campus are like, diversity, who said that? You know? So it's not enough to bring us here. You have to make sure that we're supported financially. Like, you know, we're not getting enough scholarships to cover the cost because $70,000 is too much. And I'm not even taking out $70,000. I'm taking out $100,000 each year to supplement for like room and board, transportation. And I'm sorry, but I have bills to pay as well. I have a card payment. I have all types of other financial responsibilities I had prior to coming here. And you guys don't want to cover that. So I have to increase how much more money I take out in loans. But it's frustrating. And then on top of that, you want to talk about like Farrah-Amoy mentioned like, what about your peers? Are your peers helping you? Do my peers want to interact with me? I won't even begin to start about talking about how many resources Black students don't lay their eyes on because they're not being circulated in their little, pools of people. There are documents that I've only been able to get because a white student gave it to me. I wouldn't have been able to get it from another Black medical student because we just don't have access to those resources. Resources that are really like make or break when it comes to certain examinations or like rotations and whatnot. And so, of course, all of these other students look very prepared, and the Black students are like, somewhat fumbling through everything, and it's just a bit more difficult. But like, it's not enough to be like, yeah, we have these people on campus, and then you put them in the brochures and all this stuff, and then meanwhile you speak to these Black students that are on the brochures, and they don't feel supported at all. But you're making coin off of their likeness in your marketing, and it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating for me, and it's not enough to just have the students there. They need to be safe, because at this point, I don't even feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable suggesting that any other Black student come to my institution, because I don't want them to struggle like I've been struggling. It would be so unfair.
That's real.
I want to quickly. Yeah, sorry. Oh, Alana, I done interrupted you, girl. I just want to quickly add a +1 because Canada's an entire frozen wasteland. We all been known that being Canada. Y'all have your own mess and we have our own, because there are so sometimes it's like when I look at med schools in America, I'm like, yeah, that's screwed up. Y'all are screwed up for real, for real. But at the same time, it's like I have my hands against a glass pane, and I'm like, get me out of here. Like, someone needs to call the police. Like, get me out. Well, don't call the police because I'm Black, but get me out of here because. Oh my God. Not need to say that. But what I'm trying to say is, like, bringing the perspective of a Canadian, our biggest issue is just the huge disconnect between how they treat Black people and what they think this country is. Like, we don't even have discussions on race. We're just getting there. And whenever you start a discussion about race in this country, people are like, well, we didn't have slavery. I'm like, that's not true. You sure did. Because guess who you are? You're an American brother that just ended up in a different place. Okay? And it's very frustrating because we can't even start anything. So, for example, in my school, I'm close to Toronto, which has the most Black people in this country, and I'm one of 2 Black students in my class of over 200. And in the class below me, no Black medical students. They have 204 students, not a single Black person, not even someone with a 1 drop. Nothing. There's nothing there, y'all. No one's answering the phone. 1 drop. And it's just and I think to add to what Court was saying, one of the biggest issues with having few Black students and then trying to recruit more is that now I'm involved in all these meetings with my school where they're like, how do we solve this issue? Another issue too is the minority taxes that I feel like I have, like the giants before me got me here, so I also have like a need to advocate for Black students. But guess what that is? That's emotionally, financially, and physically draining. All of us here, I'm sure, have been in all those meetings where all these people are asking you Black opinion, but you know they don't care about your Black opinion, and you're just trying to do your best to change things, but it's so draining. And this is me going to be dragging white allies for a moment, but white advocates and allies are allowed to step into the pool and dip out, right? Like, for them, it's like a CV edition. For me, it's survival. Like, you're allowed to come to a meeting and get your good pat on the back for the day because you advocated for Black people. Meanwhile, I'm still going to wake up tomorrow being the only Black woman in my class. So it's a very different ball game for both of us advocating for the same thing in the same meeting. It's very frustrating, and we can't say no. Like, I can't say no to being asked to come to a meeting because if I don't go there, there's not going to be any Black people there. But I don't want to go there because it's not like they're going to even care what I say. Like, we never win.
And then if you don't go, it's
yeah,
we care.
We hear you.
We see you.
We see you. We acknowledge you.
You're not trying to show how you feel. How are we going to help you if you don't try? Well, I mean, if you go to listen at the 17 last meetings we had, you would know. But there was something that Court said that I wanted to directly piggyback off. Well, in terms of financial support and everything, just giving a background, my school is a combined program. So I did my undergrad and my grad stuff there, right? So straight out of high school, they convinced little me to go there, whatever. And they're like, yeah, we're taking all the underrepresented minorities in medicine and giving them degrees. I'm like, all right, cool. Then I get there and I'm like,
they kind of forget the definition of underrepresented in medicine.
Of underrepresented in medicine cannot be someone who both of their parents are physicians, someone who's a white man. Let's just be honest here, and someone whose income into their house is $600,000, $700,000 a year. You can afford to get into whatever you could do the MCAT prep. You could do all the things that you need to do.
I'm muted. You can come up
to make it. And then you have students like us, or that during undergrad, there was a bunch of students that were told, "Oh, you need to quit your job because you're not putting in the amount of work that you need to put in to do well." Or maybe you're just not teaching me and providing me with the things I need for me to academically survive. You can't tell me to quit my job if you're not paying my rent. Like, are you gonna pay my rent? Are you gonna pay my tuition? Are you gonna give me the same access to these scholarships where it's to apply for this scholarship, you need this amount of recommendations, you need to have done this amount of research, but you can't do research because you need to do all this different type of studying. And I know, like, we've had a conversation recently about like how Black women don't get diagnosed with learning disabilities, so we just keep going and going and going when a lot of the times we can't function at that level because we have an undiagnosed learning disability, and reading a textbook in 3 days is not going to happen. Like, you're going to have to just get what you could get. So, yeah, I'm going to have to keep this job. I need to read this whole textbook in 3 days. I need to tell the people in my class that putting on a charcoal mask and saying, "Hey, I'm Black," is racist, and just go to class and be like, "Yeah, we're all dealing with the same things here." Then I'm like, that's how that works. You can't, one, tell me that things like that aren't racist, but that's a whole nother conversation. Two, tell me I'm supported when I'm not getting the same tutoring opportunities. I can't afford these resources that you're telling me to buy. I can't afford to pay my rent and feed myself and make sure I'm getting to class on time. And I know my school doesn't have this, but I know some schools have where like you have to dress professionally to preclinical classes and stuff like that. Like, so Kika's face just killed me. But some people don't have the accessibility to that. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
I know, like, Kika was talking about white allies, and I felt like that was just like the perfect segue into what we were talking about next. Yeah, let's do this first. So allyship checkpoints, there are different checkpoints to people who claim themselves to be allies, which, let me make this clear, you should not be claiming yourself to be an ally to anything. That title should be given to you by the people you claim to be supporting. So if Black people do not say you're an ally, baby, you're not an ally. Like, that's just not what it is. So on that path to becoming an ally, and I did talk about that in my first episode, but just condensing it here, the first level, which should just be level 0, is apathetic. So you have no understanding whatsoever of what is going on around you. Second is becoming aware, figuring out that racism exists, right? Knows basic concepts, but you're not active on yourself, like to act on behalf of yourself or others. So you're just like aware the stuff is happening, but you're like, it's not affecting me, so I'm not going to do anything about it. And so number 3 is active. So this is where, you start, downloading but not reading your anti-racism books, and then sharing, seeking diversity when asked and prompt, interjecting in conversations that didn't involve you whatsoever. So that's number 3, number active. And then you finally become an advocate. Let me move this to the other side. When you are committed and routinely and proactively championing inclusion. I said exclusion, I'm so sorry, Freudian slip. Inclusion. And so I felt like this is where I got this from. Allyship requires more than lip service. And I don't like the wording of championing inclusion, because I really feel like allies, you're not supposed to be working toward championing anything. You're just supposed to be working toward making yourself a better person. And so, like, one of my big issues with this, just over the 6 months since, starting Lay Black and, coming back, taking a break, is that, being an anti-racist, it does take a lot of work and like a lot of, daily routines and stuff. But also, like, why do we have to teach you to be a good person? Like, shouldn't this, I really do feel like some of this is very common sense. But, you know, as a Black person who has been subject to a lot of the effects of all of this, it's just different. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I will say something about that quote from that's at the bottom, Deborah Codner. I hope I'm saying the name right. So Farrah-Amoy, you know, allyship and what you mentioned, you know, allyship is not, you know, oh, I believe Black people, so tell me your experience so I can share your trauma with you and relive, you know, have you relive your trauma so I can go, oh, I'm so sorry, you know. And that's what I see a lot that happens on Twitter with the people that got BLM in their bio. You know, it's, can you tell me your experience, or thank you for sharing? I'm so sorry. That's one of my pet peeves, is seeing like one of us mentioning something that we've been through, and at that like reply, it's, I am so sorry. Can you you know, tell me, or you know, they ask us to keep going in depth with this trauma. And then, you know, with some of the things that have been highlighted this year, we're seeing quote unquote allies who are speaking for Black people, and it's we got lips, you know, we got a voice, you know, we can share it, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like being an ally is, you know, stepping aside, in my opinion, and allowing Black people to have a voice, and allowing Black people to have opportunities, and allowing Black people to have, you know, equity. And you know, it's hard because some people feel like they're doing what they feel is right and what we're asking for them to do. And so, you know, a lot of people, in my opinion, don't really know better, or maybe that's just being optimistic. But there's also people who I feel take the opportunity to call themselves allies, and really it's, you know, they want to pat themselves, you know, on the back and say, look at me, I'm not racist because I put out a thread, you know, saying how much Black people matter, and look at me, I have BLM in my bio, you know, so I can't be racist. And it's like, nah, but you can though. You can. I'm just letting you know you can. And you are right now. But we'll talk about that later. You are right now because you're telling me to be quiet, and you kind of like, you know, you hijacked our movement with your allyship. So I just feel like sometimes it's just better to like, it's okay to say, you know what, this is not my experience, and I'm here to learn and better myself. I don't need your threads. I don't need you to, you know, message me about how bad you feel. You can keep the tears, and I don't care. And it's not that I don't care, like, you know, screw what you have to say. It's just more so it's for you to do some self-reflection, and, you know, take what you learned and teach your people how not to be racist, and how not to you know, be discriminatory to Black people. I don't need the words there. Just take that action and teach your people, because I can guarantee if you feel that you are, you know, you've done some racist things and you want to be an ally, you know, there's people in your family, in your circle of friends who are battling with, you know, those things as well. Maybe you need to go teach them. And also, the library is, well, it was open, but Google is free. So I'm not going to tell you the resources to look at. You know, if I can Google how to, or, you know, racial things that goes on in America, or whatever have you, I know you can too. If my fingers work, your fingers work. I'm not going to teach you. It's not my job to tell you about my trauma and relive it so you understand where I'm coming from. And it's damn sure not my job to teach you these things while I am still being a Black person every single day, which is a job in itself. trying to survive in America. So, allyship, I'm not really that vocal on Twitter because of, the things that I see that you guys deal with on, Med Twitter or other, groups of Twitter, because it's rough trying to get people to look in the mirror, and see what they're really doing wrong, because then they're offended. It's, do you want my allyship or not? It's like,
I don't.
That's what they say. I hate that. Like, do you want our support or not? Like, maybe no. If you gotta ask, no.
Let me know if you need any type of validation. But for the support, I don't need it, because then it's not support.
I think that's what it is. I feel like it's a form of validation where every time some cyclical event of one of us dying or someone being fired, they're like, okay, well, everyone thinks in this set type of boxes. You're like, okay, Black person hurt. What do I do? Let's look through my phone and look for Black person. Okay, found her. Let's tell them I'm sorry, or what can I do? Why didn't you do that before? Why didn't you do that when it was a sunny day and I was happy and I'm at the beach? Why didn't you say, hey, Sally, what's going on? How's everything? I had this experience with this one and I advocated for this. Can you give me some pointers on where I went wrong, what I can do right on a normal day? Like, why does it have to be some type, and during trauma, mind you, I'm already processing, the death of this person firing. I can't even have a place to sit down and be without all of this in my face. And then you message me going, hey man, I don't know what's going on. This is crazy. I know that. It's all over. I can't, message me when I'm feeling a little better, when it's dissolved. So you can pinpoint where you went wrong, what you can do as an ally.
And then added on to the fact of trauma, as an ally, you are not allowed to accept apologies on the behalf of people.
No!
You're not allowed to do that.
Who are you?
And why did you think that, or because people say it's not accepting an apology, but patronizing someone that's done something clearly racist and just being like, oh, it's okay, we all make mistakes. Nobody accidentally calls someone the N-word. You don't make a mistake like that, especially with the things that happen on Twitter. You have to type it out, look at it, and
that's what I always say. Yep, your brain sent signals. The synapses connected. You brought your fingers to the phone and typed it out. There were several clear indications. No, don't do this. But you kept saying, yes. That was the algorithm. And then you posted it. Or you said it. Or you did it.
And then it was, I'm so sorry. And everyone's like, it's okay. You're fine.
Or they'd be like, oh, I know this person. They're so good. They would never mean
to
do anything
your friend just...
Here they are.
Called me a monkey.
They did it, child.
They did.
No, y'all know. You see my face. Y'all know this. This is what gets me. Is when someone fixes their finger to say something racist and their friend not in the marginalized group. My sweetie pie, lovey-dovey, beautiful pigeon dove. You would never do something like this. I saw you 2 weeks ago and you fed a poor cat. And now you're here and people are hating on you, but I remember that poor, sad cat that you fed. The way I don't care?
Or when they try to lie and be like, oh no, their page must be hacked. No, your friend is racist.
Your friend is racist.
My favorite is when they go, I was just having a bad day. I was depressed. And my dad, he went off on me and I just got angry. What's
so
your reaction?
Misdirected anger.
That's a subconscious thing, honestly. Because if you're angry, your conscious is angry, and then, this algorithm in your brain is going, angry racist, then something is wrong that you need to address.
Or when their friend that's not the marginalized person or not the Black person's like, I've never seen them be racist. I was like, how are they going to be racist to you when you're not Black? Explain it.
I've never seen it because you're white, boo.
If they were racist to you, I'd be concerned because you're the same color. What is going on here?
I'm thinking about this one, I'm thinking about allyship, and we're talking about like our moments on Twitter, but I'm especially thinking about like the allyship on Twitter, or allyship, whatever, how you want to pronounce it. And on Twitter, I don't see it. I pretend not to see it because it doesn't matter to me. I mostly focus on the people who claim to be allies or advocates in my institution. Because I had a situation where I was like wrongly accused of missing too many days of a lab for whatever reason. I don't know why. This is, you know, as Black women, we're like, what could it have been? Is it my race? Is it my gender? Is it both? Like, why could this person see me, like literally see me, to count me present? So I got written up, and I had to meet with a dean for unprofessionalism. And I'm very emotional because I'm like, I do my best as a Black woman to just lay low, stay low key. I don't want y'all to know my name. I don't want y'all to know who I am. I'm here to get my degree, then leave. So the fact that I had to meet with this dean because she heard about this whole situation, it had me very emotional. And I'm like fighting back angry tears, like the tears that would, before you're about to like start swinging on inanimate objects, like I was holding back tears because this woman who doesn't really know the structure of our our curriculum, doesn't understand like how someone like me could even be in this position, is trying to tell me what I should have done. You should have spoken to this person. You should have talked to this person. You shouldn't have done this. I actually don't think I don't like the way you did this. And at one point in this meeting, she's telling me, "Oh, you need to present all your evidence to prove that you were there." Mind you, I had already thought about all of that. I have my timestamp notes. I have friends in the lab who were with me who can advocate on my behalf, say I was there. So she's telling me all of this, and I'm like, you're not really saying anything different to me right now. Like, I've already thought about all of this. I've already emailed all of this to the people who need to receive it, and it hasn't got me anywhere. And at one point she said to me, you know, I don't feel that you're very enthusiastic about the changes that I'm asking you to make. And it's making me question whether or not I want to advocate for you. And she said that to my face. And I was like, you don't have a choice. You are a dean. You are a dean of like this institution. Your literal job is to advocate on behalf of the students. And what made me upset is that no one throughout this entire situation ever issued me the benefit of the doubt. They all assumed that I was just another student who's trying to get out of the lab and blah, blah, blah. And this dean who has so much power had the opportunity to speak on behalf of me and try to bring issue some understanding. Like, let's think about the student's track record. Let's think about what has a student ever had to come to my office before for any unprofessionalism issues? No. Why are we all assuming that they did this in bad faith? Why aren't we considering that this person did in fact make a mistake and that they should be brought, they should be held accountable for the mistake they made? Instead, the onus is on me to do all these things to make this disappear. And she said that to me, and I was like, off rip, this is not a safe space. And I hope I never have to be in this space again. I hope I never have to speak to this dean ever again about anything. And very recently, we had to rank all of these deans at our school to choose who we want to write our dean's letter for our ERAS application. The way I ranked this woman dead last. Dead last.
Didn't even rank her.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
You know what? It's really sad that a lot of people who consider themselves advocating for Black people or allyship, they'll dangle it in our face, like
it's transactional.
Yeah,
it's transactional.
It's either you're racist or you're not. It's either that you care and Black lives do matter to you, or it doesn't. You're not going to dangle it in front of me because technically I've been okay without your allyship for the amount of years I've been on this earth. So if you really don't consider yourself an ally, or you really don't want to do the work within yourselves, that's your problem, baby. That's not mine.
And they spend so much time thinking about, okay, this is one of my pet peeves, is when people spend so much time thinking about how hard it is to be an ally instead of how hard it is to be a marginalized person. I'm like, sweetie, when you go to bed, you can wake up and decide not to do this. I can't scrub my skin off. I can't wake up tomorrow and decide not to be Black. I'm just Black. And it exactly goes to that previous point we talked about where it's like, you can be quiet, loud, extroverted, introverted. You can be skinny. You can be tall. Like, it doesn't matter how you slice or dice it. Whenever I walk into a hospital, whenever I walk into a clinical situation, they see Black or woman first, whichever choice of ism they want to use first. They see that, and that's what they're going to move with. And I think once again, it points to that thing of like, you know, some of the people who think that respectability will work, where they're like, maybe you should do your hair better, maybe you should wear this, maybe you should be quiet. It's like, at the end of the day, I remember like when I was in high school, I wrote this poem or something, and I don't remember the rest of the poem because it was probably bad. But I remember one line from this poem that really I identify with to this day. And I think I wrote like, my skin is like a traffic light. Like, you can't like, either you're going to bypass and get a ticket, right, from me, or or like you have to stop and you have to think about it and you have to like actually react to the situation at hand. Like, I can't change what I look like, and it's very frustrating that people routinely forget that I'm not going to give you a cookie for being an ally. Like, and I don't deserve a cookie for whether or not people decide I'm an ally or not, because all of us have ways in which we are privileged. And even though I'm a Black person and I'm a woman, I have other ways that I'm an ally to other communities. And I should never, ever expect a cookie for that. I should never expect a thank you for someone for being a regular human being. Like, if I go forward and I say, oh, like, I'm an ally for folks who are disabled, for example, I don't deserve a cookie for that. That's just basic human rights. Because we live in an ableist world. So if I decide to not be ableist, I don't deserve anything for that, because that's how it should be from the get-go. And it really frustrates me that people feel like they deserve something for believing in basic human rights. That's where I get off. That's where y'all know gonna leave me on that train. I'm getting off right at this stop.
Right. The only thing you deserve is reprimanding if you're not being a humanistic person, because that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they do not like being held accountable. Like they just immediately jump to, I'm being harassed. That's a huge thing on med Twitter specifically.
The language that they use.
Exactly. It's very violent.
The language
right?
that they use, it's so coded.
Mm-hmm.
It's violent.
It's very.
And if we talk about that, like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say it's giving dog whistle.
But the language too, like, especially if it's a Black woman that calls them out, is back to, oh, like, you're bullying me, you're being aggressive, and like I called this one person out before for being racist, and then he went and told everybody that I was bullying him, and I was like, I didn't bully you, I just told everyone that you were racist. Maybe you should just not be racist. And then he was like, you're ruining my chances of residency. I was like, well, you're being racist. Like,
What? You ruined your own chances. That's what I don't understand.
I think the racism might have ruined your chances. I think that's what it was.
Like, you can call me out on Twitter. I can use my Twitter for what I would want to use it for.
And it's weird because, like, we're calling you out on something you posted publicly. You did that. We would have never saw it if you never posted it, boo. So, like, the math is not adding up.
It's not mathing.
The math is not mathing. And then they really, like, wake up and do things, and then they're like, oh, why am I having consequences for my actions? They're like, how dare you question something I did? And it's like, because you're hurting people. I never understood that, because I think why it's frustrating for me is I've been called out before. Right? Like, someone has said, Kika, like, you messed up. You ain't supposed to say that. And it's like, people don't understand what humility means. Everyone thinks they're humble until someone humbles them. You know what I mean? Like, we all think we're humble until someone sits you down and says, you messed up and you have to own up to it. And I think it really frustrates me that Black women are expected to be humbled. We're expected to accept when people tell us that we've done something wrong, sometimes when it's not valid, but we're expected to be humbled, but we can't humble anyone else. Immediately a Black woman tells you what you did wrong, tells you how you wronged them, then all of a sudden it's a different ballgame.
Aggressive, it's this, it's bullying, it's trash, it's whatever.
Yeah, but they're all fine and dandy with humbling us. So I'm like, okay, where does that, how does that make any sense? It's very frustrating. And I think I had a recent racist interaction that I told you guys about with the person that thought I was a admin support or lower staff and then apologized to me. And I remember feeling like I got home, and when she did it to me, I was like, I accepted her apology. I was like, don't worry about it. You didn't mean it. And then I got home and I was like, she should have worried about it, because I should have, and sometimes you feel guilty as a Black woman for allowing people to step all over you. But then I talked about it, and one of the counselors at my school, I'm lucky I have a Black woman counselor, she was like, why are you feeling bad about something when you have been indoctrinated your whole life to be humbled? And you've been indoctrinated your whole life to believe that standing up for yourself is dangerous. And in some ways it really is. Like, if I had told that woman, you can't talk to me that way, what you said, it is racist, I don't accept your apology, imagine how stupid I would have looked. Even though I said what was right, I would have put my own elective at jeopardy. And so that's where it gets really frustrating, is that the few times we stand up to people, because people don't know the number of times racist things happen, that all of us don't say anything. That's what gets me effed up. That's what gets me really annoyed, is that there's actually many, many times in my life people have done messed up things and I didn't say anything. But the once in a while that I just feel up to it to say something, I'm made to feel like I'm too sensitive. I'm like, if you really want me to be sensitive, I can be. This is me not being sensitive. So.
Then it's like, we're judged for being sensitive or clear this, but then people of other skin tones can go off when their coffee at Starbucks is regular milk instead of skim milk, and it's all seen as fine. But they messed up my order at Starbucks. I'm like, okay, you know what? Forget it. It's fine. I'll just take it. But I don't understand.
That's the thing. I think they spent their lives not knowing how they're perceived because they don't have to worry about that. So when they call us aggressive, they're actually the aggressor. They're the ones that come onto us and be disrespectful when they talk to us and belittle us. But when we're not even belittling them, we're just kind of retorting our feelings and saying it in a respectful manner. They're just like, well, this doesn't calculate as respectful to me because I don't know what respectful is. I've been disrespectful my whole life. So I don't know how to calculate this or that. So I'm just going to label you as a bully or rude or trash. And it's kind of exhausting, whether on Twitter or in IRL. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, my mom actually, she just made a good point while Kika was speaking. Black women are considered aggressive while white women might be considered assertive, strong, confident, for the same things that we may say, for the same tones that we Black women may have. And, it's unfortunate because, as we all seen on, Twitter and the things that get traction on Med Twitter, when Med Bikini came out, it was, everyone was just strong-voiced, and these beautiful med students were saying, being real assertive about why can't we wear bikinis as women and da-da-da-da-da. And then George Floyd happened, Breonna Taylor happened, and it was just us screaming in, the abyss.
Into the void. Mm-hmm. Yep. They actually think that these topics are too sensitive. They're too far-fetched, too, if they get into this, there's going to be repercussions. Why?
Yeah. And then, when we call them out and we're like, yo, where's that energy at? Here we go, bullying, and here we go with the racism, and here we go, they're harassing us. And it's just like, dang, bro, where do you guys really stand on real issues? Because racism isn't just, oh, you told me my hair was nappy. No, racism is killing my people. So if I want to be assertive about, human rights for my Black folks. Are you going to tell me that it's harassing, it's bullying, it's too aggressive, it's too much? Is it really too much for Black women to say, we matter, or this is happening to us? I don't understand it. It's like either we're quiet and then we're humbled, and so we get stepped on, and then when we're a little louder and like, hey, this is wrong, we're bullying, we're harassing, and we need to stay in our place. It's like either one, we can't win, because either we're gonna take some lickings and then we go home and deal with mental issues, which mental issues is a huge thing in the Black community that we don't talk about, and most of it stems from the racism that we deal with every day. And then if we don't, and we're loud, or we stand up for what's right, we get fired. Too late. Kaiser Permanente. So it's like, what do y'all want to say? Where do we sit? Where are we going to be at? Because right now, we're struggling with not so much our identity within ourselves, but in the community. It's like, you want representation, you want to be an ally, but what do we have to do to make you feel a little bit more comfortable doing that for us? What can we give you to make you feel better to do this for us? And it's just this, that's something I constantly deal with internally. Should I speak out, or should I just take this licking? Is it calm enough for me to take this home with me and deal with it, in my group chat with my sisters or with my parents? Or is it something where I just have to let the world know, I'm telling you this is wrong? It's a battle. And all that I talked about is packed on to Black women on our backs every single day, while the people that call themselves allies can scream on Twitter and then get some good sleep. They can, once they log out, they good. They ain't got to.
And just remember all of this, guys. All of this, faction in our lives. On top of our backs, medical school, interviewing, the match, taking step 1, taking step 2, which
debt,
are all
student debt, don't forget the debt.
The crippling debt, And I remember I was talking to a friend of mine where I was just like, I wonder how it feels where the only thing you have to worry about is opening step 1 and just reading this, getting on Boards and Beyond, or, studying for this. That's the only thing they have to worry about.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
I also think too, all the time, for me, I ask myself this question too, as me, trying to be an ally for others, is what are you willing to give up? Right? You can talk everything, you can use all the hashtags, but when an actual Black person is in your organization, in your institution, what are you willing to give up to stand up for them? Court gave a great story of someone that wasn't willing to give up anything, that wasn't willing to be a true advocate. And I see a lot of people that talk a lot of stuff on Twitter, but when it's face to face in a boardroom, I'm not quite sure they'd actually give up something.
Yeah.
And I know it's tough. It's tough for people to conceptualize that. Even for me too. I'm like, what would I give up of? Because if you think about it, for example, all of us are going to be privileged in a way at some point where we're all going to be economically privileged. We're not there right now. We're actually all bottom of the barrel right now. We're all in debt. But at some point, we'll be out of this hole. And at some point, we'll have money, more money probably than our friends we grew up with, more money than our parents had, more money than a lot of average Americans, average Canadians have. And when I've been thinking to myself recently, I'm like, if I make that much money, what am I going to be willing to give up for people not making that? How much will I be willing to give to mutual aid? How much will I be willing to sacrifice of my own, paycheck every month for people who don't have that privilege? But the fact of the matter is, it's marginalized people with these few privileges that think this way. The people that have everything checked off aren't even in this frame of mind. It's those of us that have these 1-2 privileges that we're like, how can I use this privilege to stand up for other people? The people that have privilege in their gender, their class, their race, their background, they just go about living their life in all those ways. A lot of them. Let me not, because someone's going to come for me on Twitter. But what I'm saying is, people don't tend to think that far in the future. And I'm trying to do that, where I'm like, if I have more money than I can conceptualize, what am I going to be willing to sacrifice for the people that don't have that paycheck?
Yeah. A lot of people aren't willing to do that. That, like was said before, and a lot of allyship is, stop talking, shutting up, giving up your seat at the table, letting someone else sit in it. So being able to know when to get out of the way so other people can take over is very big in this as well. But next slide, as far as like what we're talking about next, is celebration of Blackness, because like we can't just go in the whole time and not talk about what makes us great as well. So basically acknowledging all of the achievements we've done, and that means all of them. Even the ones that some people may not think are meritable. Despite so many things stacked against us, I feel like just existing is a form of resistance, and I really do feel that way. It's not monolithic. It looks different for everyone, and all variations should be embraced. So, like, growing up, my parents, they meant well, but they were very much so elitist and classist. And I was like, we're poor. Where is this coming from? So like, they would tell me not to hang out with certain Black people because of where they grew up or what neighborhood they were in. And I'm just like, we in that same neighborhood. I'm not getting it. So all of that, respectability politics has no place in Black liberation. All variations of Blackness should be embraced. And in that way, you can forge a new world, one that accommodates everyone and, doesn't exclude based on little things like appearance. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I'm going backwards, y'all. Yeah, this is my last point. Anti-Blackness is global, like all over the world. Like, there's no place you will go that will not be anti-Black. Even in places like Jamaica, it's not, most of the people there are Black, but there is definitely a caste system based on your proximity to whiteness. So lighter skinned people get more job opportunities, very much so like the privilege that's afforded to you here. So even with things like that, Blackness is something that is radical, and it shouldn't be, but it is. And our liberation as well just has to be radical too. And in whatever space that is, for us, it's medical education. A lot of us are going to residency soon, match is coming up. A lot of us have more rotations to do before match is complete, or having to go to residency. So we're all at different points, but it's important to know that Blackness is not well received everywhere, but that doesn't matter because it's all about us anyways. Like, we are the ones in charge of how we feel and how we move through the world, and just knowing that it doesn't have to be right for everybody, because it's not going to be, and it's not ever going to be. That's fine. That's their loss. Sorry, can't relate. Do y'all have any finishing points? No.
I mean, I guess for me, did I interrupt anyone?
Go ahead, Sam.
Okay. For me, despite, having these factions stacked against us, and like, these things that are aerating around our head, it's still good, as cliche as it sounds, to still be yourself. There are factions of us that are amazing, that keep us going. And it's good to have a community of women who understand who you are, and what you like, and who you want to be. If you feel like you can't find that in a certain group of people, no matter who they are, move on and just continue to just be yourself. I know all of this is really, really tough, but if you continue to just remember what you're in medicine for, whatever career field you're in, and just keep it, you are the main character in your story. These other factions are there to just develop you as a character.
Exactly.
And adding on to that, like, keep looking till you find your people. Like, the people watching this podcast probably think that all of us have, like, known each other forever. Like, we have not met each other in person. Like, these are my pen
pals. That's what my mother calls it.
Pen pals.
It was like, this is what we call pen pals back in Haiti. I know about. Oh, we have Twitter now.
Yeah, like, but these are my people. Like, these are the women that I feel comfortable with. Like, they have helped me find myself and my way in med school. And you just have to find those people because you're especially as a Black woman, like, being in a field that's not made for you, you have to make a way for yourself. And that's what we've been doing, and that's, like, the support that we have with each other, and you just have to find those people for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you just need that validation, you know, like Alana said. Like, we just found each other just a few months ago. I think the first meeting, Farrah-Amoy put us in a group chat. I think this was like September of last year. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I feel like I was in my fourth year when I met these girls, you know, but I did medical school, you know, three and a half years without them, by myself, really. And so you never know when they're going to come around, but, you know, when they do, you know, appreciate the group that you do come across, because we all are from different states. You know, Kika's from Canada, but all of our experience is very similar, very much the same. And so, you know, I'm grateful to have these women in my life, and the space that we give each other is a safe space. No matter what it is, no matter what time it is, it can be to them the stupidest thing, and, you know, they're embraced. We love each other, and that's what unconditional love is. You know, we hold each other accountable when it's time to, and we praise each other when it's time to. So, you know, right now, if you're out there and you're a Black woman or a Black man listening to this and you feel alone in this journey, just know that you're going to find your people, whether it's in medical school, residency, fellowship. You will find them, and, you know, it'll make a world of difference. And, you know, I love you ladies, and y'all stuck with me, so please don't try and leave, because Sallyanna. So
Erycka's our sap. She's our sap. We can't get her to stop because she is so sweet, and we love her, and we'll never replace her with anyone. That was beautiful.
I wanted to, like, kind of conclude this with this James Baldwin quote.
Of course.
And he says, "The place in which I'll fit will not exist until I make it." It's the quote that's in my Twitter bio. But, like, I really do kind of just, like, operate from a space like that, because, like, a lot of the women on this panel just now has been saying, medicine is very white, male, like, centric, you know? So if you see Black women in your, you know, the clinic, your ER, like, doing your surgery, I need y'all to know that they fought for that space. That space didn't exist. They created it, you know? And, like, Erycka said, like, we've been doing that without any advocates, without allyship, whatever, without the BLM in your bio. Like, it's cool. So, yeah, I just want everyone to know that, like, we really did carve out these spaces for ourselves. And I'm really happy to be amongst these women, because for the longest time I was like, will I ever find Black girls that I resonate with? Because we're not monolithic. We don't all get along just because we're Black, you know? We get along because we see things in each other that we see in ourselves. And I've always been like, will I ever find that? And, you know, I thought med school was going to be my opportunity to do that. I thought wrong. But, you know, I found them through Twitter. So, yeah, Twitter's not all doxing and med Twitter drama. You can also find, like friendship and, like, sisters, and, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm trying so hard not to cry.
Aw.
I'm trying so hard. I love you guys so much, and thank you for coming out to the panel. This is the end of Laid Black. These are all my references. Thank y'all for coming. Everyone that's in the audience, thank you so much for signing on and staying on. We talked about Twitter. Here is my Laid Black Twitter. Y'all can find. Oh, there it is. My account is right there in bio. So if you want to go follow, there it is. And of